Welcome back. Charlie O'Hara joining us once again on this Wednesday morning. 436-1212 is the number to call if you have a question or you just want some legal advice. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning.
Glad to have you here.
Good to be here.
Well, we have a few callers on the line, and we're going to go ahead and get to those this morning. Hi there. What's your question for Charlie?
Hello.
Good morning. What's your question?
I was calling to see if my son plays football, and they went down for a tackle, and he was on the ground, and another kid came up and kicked him in his ribs, and you can see on the film that the ball was not in play. He kicked him maliciously, and it broke his rib. Can I sue the kid or his parents for that?
Well, that's kind of an interesting issue, actually. When you play sports, there's some assumption of risk. In other words, if you're in baseball and you accidentally get hit with a baseball while you're at bat or something like that, or off the bat of someone, you're assuming those risks. Even when, at times when you go to the ballpark, for instance, you're assuming risks. So when you play football, it's obviously a contact sport. When you allow your child to play, there's going to be contact and there's going to be injuries. Now, that can change if someone intentionally does something that's not in the game, for instance. So if someone came over and kicked your son intentionally with the intent to hurt them, and that was the reason they did that, and you could prove that, you might have somewhat of a lawsuit. There's been some lawsuits about that in hockey, actually, in professional hockey. I don't think they've ever been very successful, but I don't think it's a real good lawsuit normally, because once you decide to let your child play, you've got to kind of go with the flow of the game. Now, obviously, things can get out of hand. People can run out of the stands and hurt people. There's always exceptions to every rule. This one sounds like it's close to an exception, but I don't know that it's a very good lawsuit, actually.
You know, is this kind of a similar situation? Now, obviously, this child was injured, but when you've had people who go to a baseball game and the ball lands in their windshield and cracks and they want to sue the person who hit the ball, is this the same kind of situation?
It is a little bit, except even then you're, in the football game, you're a knowing participant in the collisions. At a baseball game, you're a spectator. But I think there's some law about that. If you'll notice that most of your tickets when you go to a baseball game, I think it says you assume the risk by going into the ballpark. You know, because people do occasionally get hit by flying bats or foul balls or something like that, or people jumping over them trying to get a ball or something like that. So there's an assumption of risk when you go to these things, and that means you know what's going on and you assume that, and you know that there are some risks there.
I need to take a closer look at my ticket next time. Thanks,
Okay.
Charlie.
All right.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get back to the phones. Good morning. What's your question?
Am I on the line?
Yes, you are. Go right ahead. What's your question?
My husband was a half Indian, and he passed away, and he had some land that was supposed to be divided between him and, between his 3 sons and myself. Okay? The Indians don't care about the white people, and so therefore they just collect for the Indians. They don't collect for anybody else. And they had got them all on some of the land, and for a year or so, I was getting the money from it. It wasn't a whole lot, you know, but I was still getting money from it. And
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time.
I am too.
I can't hear you, ma'am. If you would make your question rather concise and louder, so we could hear you.
And I think we lost that call this morning.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. You can try to call again next week. But yeah, if you keep your questions concise and clear, we can get to them, and Charlie can give you a longer and more detailed response.
Yes, that would help a lot.
All right, and thank you so much for calling in this morning. We appreciate it, Charlie. Once again, always good to get your advice and your take on different law issues.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be back in a moment with more Eyewitness News here on the KSCW. Stick with us.
This is Eyewitness News this morning in high definition, online at kwch.com.